My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is the sex offense of vagina monitoring with the male that's pacing in the hallway, and the entity's maintaining using the store alarm and also amplified noise inside of the bathroom. This is the sex offense committed by the city of Ontario, and this is exposing Mike LORENZ as a sex offender. The people of the state are sex offenders. I'm documenting them, but these are sex offenders that are worker minions. And it's also the RICO case where the perpetual sex offense is underway while Stater Brothers makes money off of vagina monitors who make purchases as they're monitoring genitalia of another The entity's doing so while they keep the evidence under surveillance. And by the way, Ontario police stalking psychopathic pacing along Euclid Avenue while they are hostile regarding what it is that they listen to me speak about on the podcast. If you pay attention to my ex, I stated yesterday that, and I've stated it before, but the pattern of conduct by the mentally ill, the demon-possessed personality of Satan is that which becomes more increasingly frustrated and hostile as he is documented. That's a vagina monitor engaging in surveillance. The chick's cash isn't open, the cleaners isn't open. Miss Donuts is a form for gang stalking. Miss Donuts is going to be prosecuted, and the entity's engaged in vagina monitoring on the opposite side of this wall right here. And this is where the entity has the fake scent on the east side of Stater Brothers, aimed underneath the covered structure in the morning as early as 6, 7 in the morning, and on the west side of the same entrance structure, aimed underneath, which is a caption in images, at 4 p.m. And that's just a sample regarding what is indeed surveillance of genitalia. A Latino male wearing red is running toward me, toward the women's restroom. These are demons that are not homeless, by the way. They're gang stalking a homeless person. So this is also speaking to the entity that's typically stalking somebody, and they've been forced to gang stalk somebody that's living outside. So they come from their homes to come rush into the bathroom. This is the entity that's engaging in that conduct, doing so where the fake sun is rising and setting on behalf of hostile demons who are representing a gang stalking police department that's obsessed with my vagina. That's Mike LORENZ. And as I stated on my ex yesterday, the entity is maintaining what is helicopter activity, and that's getting to what I stated, the hostility of the personality of Satan, which is psychopathic, and that is showing to be behavioral issues, the people of the state who are demon possessed. This is the entity that's coming from the Ontario International Airport, presumably. It's not a takeoff. This is vagina monitor for Kelly Robert Frank 259, engaging in surveillance of my genitalia on behalf of a gang stalking airport that's stalking in Fontana, California, Montclair, California, Pomona, California, where there's no airports. This is P.O.C. That's surveillance. Alrighty, this is the entity's engaging in what is ongoing hostility, which is deduced from the light activity, and it's also deduced from the relevant positioning, such as what Michael Dorsey is doing yesterday, stalking by helicopter, 9 SAR 935. And that's exactly what I was speaking to on the podcast. Excuse me, on the X thread. You'll see that. And as I walk outside of the Fontana Lewis Library, as Michael Dorsey is referred to accurately as a sex offender. Accurately. So a sex offender that is, again, engaging in what is criminal activity, is engaged in corruption and accustomed to getting away with it, is mentally ill, psychopathic. All right. Generally speaking, it's psychopathic and antisocial in nature. This is the entity that is engaging in what is exhibiting high level of aggression because they are being called out according to what they are doing. And they are engaging in what is more psychotic, meaning demonic behaviors. The demons manifest themselves. They engage in more pacing. They engage in more light activity. They engage in more of that as they are being documented. Say, this is the entity that's engaged in that. That's exactly what Michael Dorsey is doing. And this is the entity that's engaging in things such as sexual violence. They're always engaged in vagina monitoring. Stater Brothers is acting as the city of Ontario, engaging in the perpetual sex offense. All right. But I want to be clear. The entity uses sexual violence, communicating aggression. That is only in the mind of a sex offender. Okay. And by the way, in the mind of a sex offender, only are they thinking that they're engaging in retaliation. You're going to prison behind my vagina that you can't seem to stop keeping under surveillance. That's getting to what is also a mental illness. All right. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:13 a.m. Erica, spelled E-R-I-K-A. She's a Latina female. She's on the surveillance camera. She's monitoring my vagina. A Spanish-speaking employee that's in the hallway area of the bathroom. She's on the opposite side of the center wall under the grand opening sign. And she's monitoring with this men's side of the store, pacing to and from the restrooms, entering in and doing so with regard to monitoring me. And as I walk out, the airport is stalking. That is the ongoing coordinated effort regarding the airport. That's a sex offender. That's an airport that's not going to survive. That the commercial airline companies are not legitimately engaged in what is providing destinations for a fee, engaging in what are legitimate airline businesses. Okay, they're stalking, they're terrorists, they're sex offenders, and that's exactly how they're going to be treated under the law with regard to clarity, exposing the ongoing corruption. This is why Amazon Prime is flying over the top of my head at Arrow and Sierra Avenue, where Fontana police are gang stalking under the fake sun at that intersection. This is why Amazon Prime is flying over the top of my head in the Stater Brothers parking lot in Fontana, California. This is why Amazon Prime is flying over the top of my head at the Fontana Lewis Library in commercial airline planes, because these commercial airline companies are sex offenders, and you will be prosecuted no matter how that sex offender tries to cloak itself as a government entity, as a neighborhood, as a company. It's the same demon-possessed entity, and this is vagina monitoring underway in Ontario. And this is the entity that's engaged in that. Stater Brothers is a violent sex offender. This is David Quinones, and every employee sharing in that. This is P.O.C. And this is psychopathic pacing, while the entity engages in the body of evidence shows where they're everywhere else where they're stalking my planes. And also when I'm behind this building and you're looking at all the houses, and then I'm reminding you about what they're doing on camera, like rising up over the storefront and not going to a destination doing cartwheels in the parking lot. At the same time that demons are crossing path, sex offender, license 60797 Paul 3. This is the P.O.C. Okay, this is the sex offenders that are going to be federally prosecuted for terrorism, and they represent what is the entire entity that's being prosecuted. These particular demons are pacing and stalking with light and engaging in vagina monitoring as an entity, 9JIA 184. All of those that are immigrants are being deported. Sex offenders that are from other countries are going right back to wherever they came from, monitoring genitalia from their place of origin, terrorizing citizens wherever they came from, if that's what that foreign government permits, but they're not staying in the United States. And the entire city of Ontario is going to be treated under federal law in that way. And it's not changing. Any immigrants are part of the Ontario Police Department, part of San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, a part of the Upland Police Department, a part of the Fontana Police Department. They're being deported. The pattern of conduct is speaking to what is criminal conduct, public corruption, and that entity is going to be treated uniformly as federal law, including martial law, is going to be applied to neutralize the threat that the demon-possessed, the mentally ill pose while they're engaging in this terrorism, which includes keeping your genitalia under surveillance. That's what you're gaining from this documentation, this evidence. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:16 a.m. And that is Alaska Airlines that is deviating, flying miles away at the same time that a demon is stalking. Communication. These are vagina monitors. These are absolute psychopaths as well. They get up to come to the store and engineer light, stalking. And this is a venue that's provided by these demons who are being federally prosecuted. Stalking with the people of the state, facilitating that, and they are doing so under the guise of surveillance of a grocery store. This is equally terrorism outside of the form in the United States as a grocery store. They're like any other terrorist regime. And I'm going to prosecute Stater Brothers, which has a pattern of conduct, as I've documented, in multiple cities. Montclair, California, San Bernardino, California. Stater Brothers in Fontana, California. This is the entity that's maintaining the pattern of conduct, Stater Brothers in Chino, California. Every Stater Brothers that I'm encountering, and I'm documenting that. And this is terrorism cloaking itself as what is the capitalistic endeavor, a grocery store. And it's a basis of federal prison. All right, this is what is occurring before they murder you. And you're not protected, calling yourself an assistant manager, and really you're just a terrorist leader, while the entity is coming inside of a grocery store stalking. All right, and that's where the gang stalking plane activity is relevant to everything that's happening inside of the venue. Everything. P.O.C. It is currently inside of this grocery store that I've documented impossible light activity, by the way. It is currently 6:18 a.m. This is ongoing, P.O.C. Alrighty, this is a rise in elevation. This is a housing community, HOLT Boulevard. You know where HOLT and Vine Avenue are? This is the airport stalking, and this is pathetic stalking. 9 Uncle Indiana Yolanda 739 is stalking and monitoring my vagina. It's a sex offender, and if they're an immigrant, they're being deported. This is going to be prosecuted as mentally ill behavior, and they will be identified as the mentally ill population. Those are terrorists that are acting in sync with the government, that's getting in alignment with my person, under the fake sun, rising in elevation over a housing community, flying miles away from the airport. And this is what is so pathetic, stalking inside of the grocery store. Erica is working. Her name is on the receipt. It's a prosecution of David Quinones. All these so-called managers at this venue, this is a terrorist regime. As you're looking at what is nothing other than centering gang stalking, which is terrorism, around a business, an illegitimate business. It's a federal RICO case, and it's very highly unintelligent. This is a very clear-cut prosecution. This is the entity that's coming in and out of the Stater Brothers as well to engage in stalking. They're doing it under the fake sun that's still here at 4 p.m. This is already on the record. This isn't the sun. These are demons. All right, and that's the entity that's very much closely in line. Remember, they're not making a phone call and flying and driving at the same time. They're demon possessed. The demon possessed are going into mental institutions. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently, let me get this license plate, because the entity is going to be subject, gang stalkers are going to be prosecuted with regard to their mental illness. VST 484C. Looks like a Baja Sinaloa license plate. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct, and Stater Brothers is being prosecuted for that. Okay, in the same way, Omnitrans bus drivers prosecuted. The city itself is being prosecuted. The employees inside of the library are being prosecuted. The people on the highways, gang stalking with light activity under the fake sun, are being prosecuted. While the mentally ill engage in more exposure regarding what they've been doing for decades, murdering people, these commercial airline companies are not going to exist. I'm prosecuting them, and you're witnessing their mental illness unraveling. This is a crash out, okay, to put it in the vernacular. Because I actually don't want to use that term. They actually engage in crashes while they are both seeking to kill themselves and other people. All right, when you're gang stalking, you're monitoring, you're not accidentally crashing into objects. All right, this is exposing what the entity is doing, and they're doing so internationally. Internationally, it's a threat, while commercial airline companies are engaging in terrorism, as I'm showing. This is the entity that's engaging in that. This is psychopathic pacing. Okay, so this is POC. That's a pattern of conduct, and that's exposing that population, okay? By the way, 7:14 a.m., the people of the state that you see inside of the grocery store, in the aisles, they are stalkers. They are indeed stalkers, and they're demonic ones. That's Alaska. Alaska Airlines maintains no flights that are going to hover over Stater Brothers. No flights from the airport are hovering over this property, in the same way that they're not hovering over the 200 North Euclid Avenue, El Bacone, the Mule Cart Smokehouse, the Ontario Town Square, the OVITT Family Community Library. And where they are hovering there and acting like they're taking off, they are west of that location, still engaging in what is a takeoff. Like you're rising, you're not coming from the airport, and everybody knows that. They're mentally ill. They are, in fact, mentally ill. And these are the demon-possessed that are highly unintelligent, okay? The only thing that is amazing about them is how deranged they are. License 40907 Robert 1, terrorists coming and participating in the pattern of conduct. And this is the entity, I want to be clear, that is pleading for what is intervention by the federal government. That's exactly what's happening. Companies that are engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct, that are exhibiting mental illness, as you are learning, it is exhibited by entities. It is exhibited by a population. They will be removed from existence. You don't maintain a constitutional right to keep a company that's corrupt, conspiring murder. All right, this is the entity that's doing so. This is the handiwork of Alan D. WAPNER. He's no president authority. He's going to be prosecuted as a terrorist, a sex offender. Engaging in facilitation while the people of the state behind commercial airline companies are engaging in what is a program of psychological torture, criminal stalking, conspiring murder, criminal defamation. This is supposed to be that which is defaming somebody else. They really are mentally ill. They're going to be committed. They that are stalking in the planes, and they who are the people of the state in this environment sharing in that pattern of conduct. All right, there is no anonymity under the fake sun. This is what they do as a population, and it's highly unintelligent. And it's my pleasure to show you that, because while the mentally ill are exposed, they are exposed while they do so from city to city. All right, and if this is the airport in Ontario, why is Amazon Prime flying over my head in a commercial plane in Fontana? In Pomona, California, why is UPS hovering over me? Because they're not landing. Right, they're acting like they're taking off here. This is the entity that's engaging in that. They're short-sighted. They're vagina monitors. They don't maintain any sense of strategy. They are centering what they do in the moment when they're triggered and engaging in what is reaction right now, whereas the pattern of conduct is speaking to the totality of circumstances. All of the facts and all of the evidence is going to be considered together, not in a vacuum. And that is the basis for having the mentally ill clearly identified for the public to see, and for them to be neutralized as the threat that they are clearly recognized as by company, by government, by population. This is P.O.C. That was psychopathic pacing by planes. That's what they're doing under the fake sun in an engineered light. It's psychopathic pacing. This is not, and it's not going to be over the Arrow Boulevard and Sierra Avenue intersection, where psychopathic pacing by Michael Dorsey and the Fontana Police Department is underway, as I documented yesterday. And it remained there until after 6 p.m. when I exit the Fontana Lewis Library. And that's how an entity is exposing and prosecuting itself. Satan is inferior, okay? So Satan is only exposing himself. That's all that Satan has the authority to do, is serve my prosecutorial purposes and to inform you, the masses. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 7:17 a.m. That's Delta Airlines. Or United Airlines, rather. These are the airline companies that are obsessed with me. All right, the groups of companies that are gang stalking, group stalking, they're doing so under, and every single last one of them have a isolated federal prosecution, which I'm going to seek extensive damages for that, which you can't even calculate. Psychological torture, 9 Larry Victor Edward 894, stalking, coming in the path. Okay, speeding down the parking lot as I begin recording, stalking, right? Very precise. It's not intelligence, it's demon possession. Okay, they're stalking, they're sitting in that vehicle in an empty parking lot where nothing's open over there, engaging in surveillance under the fake sun. And that is United Airlines. Delta Airlines has the logo on the belly of the plane, P.O.C. And that's United Airlines stalking at 7:22 a.m. Alrighty, this is Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is stalking at 7:44 a.m. And so is Western Construction. Using the vehicle is all that is sufficient in order to prosecute any company that are using that business, that logo, that appearance, that uniform, that tool that they're using. Oh, this is the reason why I'm here. No, the reason why you're here is because you're gang stalking. And you're going to prosecute the company. These are persons under the law, and these persons are sex offenders and terrorists. And Western Construction, California number 608759, license number 1089263. The overweight male that's inside of Stater Brothers on surveillance camera, gang stalking with the people of the state, pacing in and out of that venue, doing so on surveillance cameras. This is P.O.C. License plate 97054 Sam 3. They're doing so with the city of Ontario that's monitoring me as I come and document a terrorist, okay? Terrorists that are engaging in that pattern of conduct with an entity that's stalking when you're paying attention to the crime scene. Southwest Airlines is being prosecuted for ongoing psychological torture for things such as vagina monitoring. They're not actually a legitimate company that's interested in providing what are flights. That is the guys where they're engaging actually in surveillance in other countries, in other parts of the world. They're engaging in interstate commerce, and they are the commercial airline companies. Not only that, they are stalking, as I'm also demonstrating, while they are maintaining what is a published list regarding the times where these planes are taking off from specific terminals, which is not including hovering over the housing community off of Holt Boulevard, or the housing community off of D Street, or the housing community on Euclid Avenue. This is the entity that's doing so outside of what is published. Southwest Airlines, which is assigned to Terminal 4, and Southwest Airlines is also not coming from Terminal 4 at the Ontario International Airport, hovering over this parking lot here. And not only are you practically breaking down the information, Southwest Airlines has no chance in civil and criminal court because of the specific environment and the pattern of conduct by actors such as the Ontario Police and the people of the state. All right, which Southwest Airlines represents the people of the state, but you're in this environment, you're facilitating it, you don't have an argument. You will be prosecuted for facilitating terrorism, the conspiracy to murder someone. But moreover that, Southwest Airlines is directly engaging in and exhibiting the malice with regard to conspiring murder and gang stalking and targeting me. But the evidence is that you can claim whatever you want. You can say this is the first time. It doesn't matter how many times. You only have to engage in gang stalking one time. You only have to be in relevant position. And these are the consequences regarding a government engaging in surveillance. All right, this is the entity that is engaging in that P.O.C. Doing so, as you can see here, where there are no flights with Southwest Airlines at 7 at the time that this video is starting. This video is at 3 minutes right now. 7:44 a.m. is what you saw the time. There's no flight from Southwest Airlines, and it does not take 14 minutes for the flight from what would be Terminal 4. This is flight number WN3675 that's going to Sacramento. It's also not going to be hovering over, coming from gate 405, and it's stating that it is on time. And this is the entity that is targeting me while I am documenting vagina monitors like Western Construction. Okay, this is the terrorist that goes in. That's the federal RICO case. 9705453 is engaging in gang stalking, and so is Stater Brothers, and so is Southwest Airlines, and so is the Ontario International Airport. So is the city of Ontario, so is the Ontario Village Shopping Center, so is everybody in this city. That's the prosecution of the state, as I give you example after example after example, show you tree after tree after tree that are in the forest. Big picture analysis. At a macro level, it's the prosecution of the U.S. government. This is P.O.C. There are no flights, regardless of the time, that are hovering over this airport. And they're demons who are pacing. They're mentally ill. 8 Sam Victor Edward 665 and 74404 Paul 2. And they sacrifice themselves. That's how obsessed with me and my vagina the demon possessed are. They're mentally ill. They do engage in suicidal conduct. And that's what this is demonstrating. This entity has sacrificed itself. All right. And that's because they are so obsessed with me. And I'm the one that's prosecuting them. There will be no sacrificing of Erica Spencer. And they knew that years ago. They should have, rather. They should have known that years ago. The evidence will show the prosecution. This case was lost by the government years ago. This is P.O.C. It's currently 7:48 a.m. Okay, this is the 7:56 a.m. fake sun. Erica, that's gang stalking at the register, is stalking with the Ontario police in furtherance of murder. David Quinones is facilitating that. And this is targeting me while the fake sun right here. And that's the government that incriminates the people of the state. They're stalking so that they can commit murder and kidnapping. They are engaging gang stalking while the entity is engaging in targeting inevitably with them. And they are demons, as are the people of the state. Okay. Now this right here, what I'm documenting, is federal prison. Sharing in the elements with the entity. And these are the tactics of Michael Dorsey and Mike Lorenz. And they're going to prison for it. License plate 9WNG733, very unwise also. That mental illness goes into the low intelligence quotient. They're going to prison behind what is gang stalking, and they're mentally ill. Okay, this is the Ontario Village Shopping Center. That same department is stalking by helicopter hours from now at 10:30 when I'm standing right here flying in circles over me, just like they are as I'm documenting on a daily and nightly basis. Mike Lorenz is going to federal prison. Paul Leon is going to be prosecuted. He is going to federal prison. The entity is sharing a pattern of conduct in Fontana, like I'm showing, where they're flying in circles over me over that city library, which is the city of Fontana. They do so while they're hostile as I document them. But that's not the answer. That's not the course of conduct you want to engage in when it's proven. There's no controversy here. It will not be a uniform going against and trying to contend with my word, which I have no evidence to support. ENMYNO1 is gang stalking, and that's federal prison. It's literal evidence of the police stalking me via you in furtherance of murdering me and kidnapping me, defaming me so that you can get away with murdering me while you've engaged in what is ongoing targeting, psychological torture, and sexual violence. Erica is inside of Stater Brothers, and I'm prosecuting her right now. That's the end. All the people inside of the grocery store are stalking inside of that grocery store. And this is what the entity engages in. And that's supposed to be the formula for disarming you and silencing you. And Mike Lorenz, very inept. He's a vagina monitor. No intellect there. And this is an entity that's going to prison. That's what they're getting. They're going to prison. This is going on the internet. And he's going to prison so that everybody else in the world understands that in the United States, when you're stalking American citizens in helicopters, you are not going to be treated differently than terrorists that are from other parts of the world. Foreign enemies is what that's referred to. You will be prosecuted and put in places like Guantanamo Bay. Well, that's where terrorists belong. They're going to prison, in other words. This is P.O.C. The entity's engaged in that. That's a documented act of retaliation. It's occurring at the venue where the entity is present under the fake sun, as I'm documenting at 10:29 a.m. And this is the entity that's engaged in that. The entity has the fake sun over me as I'm coming from Superior Grocer, as I'm documenting. And the entity has the fake sun while I'm standing at this street, San Antonio and HOLT, at the 4 p.m., 5 o'clock hour. This is the entity that's stalking, following me around through the city, doing so when I'm aboard public transportation, engaging in that ongoing criminal conduct, which is unhelpful to Erica. Erica's inside of Stater Brothers, and she's being prosecuted, while her unintelligent co-defendants, on whose behalf she's monitoring my vagina, are literally putting her in prison. That's the unintelligent system of gang stalking. It was never designed to compete with or come against the formidable, Christ Jesus. You cannot contend with Christ Jesus. They're going to prison. That's the bottom line. This is P.O.C. Mike Lorenz is engaging in that at 7:59 a.m. I just want you to see the entity that is stalking. This is the government using jets, okay? Medium-sized planes, faster in acceleration, while these demons are stalking. Now, with regard to being demons, this is actually pacing. They drove by. I'm smiling at them because they're going to prison. So I'm smiling because I'm winning. You're stalking me. You're a loser. And they're doing so with the government that's using a jet flying over me, 9ULX366. That's a psychopath. Those are the population of serial killers. Gang stalkers who are demon possessed, stalking with Southwest Airlines, United Airlines, Amazon Prime Air, the entity that's gang stalking as I'm capturing plane after plane as I did in these videos. That's an entity. That's a pattern. All of the commercial airlines are being prosecuted. All of the city of Ontario is being prosecuted. This is P.O.C. This is potentially stalking in the path. Okay. She's the Johnny Big Stalk that's engaged in the P.O.C. She's under this fake sun, as I have on video, after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, where this airport is also on video stalking me as a population. The cursed womb, stalking with the demon in the gray Civic, the entity doing so under that light source and this environment, literally at the same venue. And that was in video with the Ontario Fire Department. That was while I was walking on Holt Boulevard over here. It is 8. It's 8:19. There's no natural environment. And the cursed womb is no natural person. She's a demon. She's a demon that's obsessed with the black woman, by the way, since you want to bring race into it. Demographics has nothing to do with race. She's obsessed with a black woman, and she's engaged in what is stalking me, coming to the grocery store not to consume products from Stater Brothers. Stater Brothers isn't even operating a grocery store for the purpose of making money. They're all monitoring me. That's why a whole fake sun in the government is using all manner of resources. And a population is gathering, centering around me and my vagina. They're sex offenders as well. This is P.O.C. That's a prosecution. That's Mike LORENZ. That is everybody sitting on a so-called Ontario Airport board. This is a prosecution that's already completed through social media. And it's going to be conclusive with regard to justice provided, convictions, and damages awarded with regard to the walls of a tribunal. But this is the prosecution necessarily handled in the environment in order to prove to and prosecute the U.S. government for engaging in this. This is P.O.C. All right, this is the demon possessed, and this is the criminal pattern of conduct. By the way, the demon possessed, they identify as Catholics. Those are the so-called Catholics that are blasting music with regard to monitoring. So-called Catholics that are engaged in not only demonic activity, but criminal activity with Amazon Prime Air. Okay, a base host and this is a straight up and down demon, a billionaire that serves Satan. And these are demons that under the guise of religion, false religion, are engaging in the same P.O.C. The illusions that are being removed for you. The wicked that maintain all manner of roles in life. All right, with regard to fitting in with the population, especially those who are called to a relationship, to service for Christ Jesus. All right, it is the exact. See, here's the fake sun right over me. License 7JOY 778. Prime gang stalking with the Catholics in California. Gang stalking with the pastors in California. Gang stalking with the parishioners in California. Okay, this is St. George Church. They are inside congregating, and they are gang stalking while they congregate simultaneously. It is public corruption. And that is Amazon Prime that's stalking me. This is speaking to the obsession by the so-called Catholics that are not gathering together to worship. All right, they worship Satan in their corrupt and criminal false existence. They worship Satan in doing so. This is the beast system. It's not a legitimate body of Christ. They pray to dead people. They pray for the dead. This is not in line with scripture, okay? But not only that, they're engaged in the pattern of conduct, okay? And then what you are ignorant about is the fact that they are doing it under the guise of false religion, okay? And then you're hurt by somebody that says that they're a Christian, and that is Satan himself that wants you to never come to a relationship with Christ himself, who had nothing to do with that in the first place. While the demon-possessed Satan is misrepresenting him on purpose. On purpose. This is P.O.C. That's a prosecution of the U.S. government, by the way. It's a federal RICO case against the fake churches. This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct, and the churches are businesses just like Starbucks. Not different. They serve you false religion. They tickle your ears, and Starbucks serves you coffee. They're providing a service. They're providing goods to you. It is P.O.C. Alrighty, the entities engaging in this over the grocery store. I cannot make this level of evidence up, and this is the federal RICO case against the commercial airline companies that have been engaged in what is conspiring, stalking me, which is unheard of criminal activity, which is proven. This is surveillance, making sure all the corners are covered. This is while the fake sun remains over me. This is at the parking lot of a so-called Catholic church, right? It's P.O.C. They're monitoring it. They're engaged in federal stalking. And the government is tracking my steps, and there is nowhere where the government is not engaging in that P.O.C. This is conspiracy to murder on the grounds of a Roman Catholic church. You already know this. The entity is stalking me by helicopter on the grounds of a Roman Catholic church. They don't know Jesus, and he does not hear them. He's prosecuting them. This is P.O.C. It's currently under the fake sun, 9:30 a.m. It's remaining over me in Fontana at the same time. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. That's called crossing path. And your knowledge that she's a stalker is not only that that's impossible light, that's not sunlight appearing in the shade, and that that's light activity, meaning everything that's happening and that you hear is serving a purpose, a criminal one and a demonic one. The entity's doing so under a fake sun, which is the ongoing legally relevant context pertaining to what also even Chevron is doing. Federal RICO case while filling up your gas tank under the fake, and it's surveillance while you're at the gas station. It's criminal activity while you're stalking someone else, and that is proven through the fake sun. And then when you move the vehicle and impossible light drags on the ground, you are stalking as the government under the fake sun. The fake sun, that is, regardless of their facial expressions, regardless of the logo on the vehicle, regardless of what you purchase, regardless of your name and identity, the objective facts don't change, and it also doesn't change that it's over me in Fontana, California at the same time at 9:35 a.m. where you are engaging in this conduct and you will be prosecuted. It's not a matter of disproving. It's impossible to disprove because the fake sun doesn't disappear. Okay, your presence, your facts and circumstances are not that which is going to affect the environment. The sun remains the sun and engages in that which is the natural environment. The entity that engages in gang violence presupposes that it controls what are the facts. And this is that evidence that's going to prosecute delusional psychopaths. 8ELR235, the third party in the white vehicle, this one driving off, the one that's crossing path as I start this video, that's called psychopathic pacing. They're under the fake sun. They're mentally ill. They are one entity. They're not separate. That is the government through one person after another, after another, after another. And they all represent communication devices while they're in impossible light activity, which is also inside of that Chevron. This is a federal RICO case, and it's a prosecution as the city of Ontario is stalking me at the St. George Catholic Church with Amazon Prime airplanes and Southwest Airline commercial planes over a Catholic church nowhere near that you're talking about going into a particular corner in the city, and you're supposed to be claiming in court, not seriously, that you were engaging in a takeoff and that you're not targeting me. This is the entity that has no tenable position, and they also don't under the fake sun that which is over me in Fontana, California at the Fontana Lewis Library at 9:35 a.m. where it remains, as my evidence shows, after 2 o'clock, after 3, after 4, after 5 p.m. In fact, after 6 p.m. is where the Fontana Police Department are stalking me at that same Fontana Lewis Library like you saw on video yesterday, where there is no circumstance and there's no costume, because all the demons are doing are wearing costumes and carrying props. Their props consist of a police badge, a dog, a stroller with a child in it, a vehicle with the logo on it, a hard hat and a drill for the sidewalk, a logo representing the municipality, and a utility vehicle. All right, those are props. They're all demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. And there is no iteration of the natural environment where it's over me at 506 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, where Starbucks committed kidnapping at 507 North Euclid Avenue at 7 in the morning during daylight savings time on July 4th, 2025. It's 2 hours later, and there's no sun that's going to be over West Valley Detention Center like what I documented during daylight savings time. All right, remember when the entity kidnaps me, and as they release him, that fake sun's over Shannon Dykes' head because I'm prosecuting him. This is the entity that committed kidnapping, the one that's stalking me under the fake sun. And they are unintelligent and unequipped to contend with a federal prosecution, especially when they're delusional and they keep stalking on video, which is the evidence needed to prosecute and prove that you're stalking. This is the entity that engages in that. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:41 a.m. The entity is maintaining that fake sun over me in Fontana, California, and repeatedly going to the gas stalls and making purchases is the psychotic and malicious. That's the key word. But they are psychopaths while they engage in that. They're not focused on worshiping Mary or George or whoever they're praying to inside of that Roman Catholic Church. They're interested in gang stalking. That's why the fake sun is over that. It's not really about the gas. And even if they plead with all their heart and they start busting out tears, and it really is about the gas, it's also about gang stalking. The facts are what control. You're going to be prosecuted. You're going in mental institutions and you're going to prison and you're going to be prosecuted. If you're an immigrant, you're being deported. If you are in custody or have access to children, you will not after I prosecute you. This is P.O.C. It is currently where terrorists are gang stalking me in Ontario and at the same time in Fontana, California, with license SAWAUFO, a psychopath that's a vagina monitor, proof of the evidence of that. All right. Well, they're engaged in the pattern of conduct. This is the government that maintains sexual violence through a population. This is P.O.C. All right, it's currently 9:42 a.m.
Right in the middle of your ordinary life, higher the heart, busy schedule, And all those moments where life feels less like resurrection and more like trying to find your cell phone while it's in your hand. So take a deep breath, settle in, and notice the risen Christ is here among us. And that means hope is alive, love is strong, and no one has to pretend to have it all together this morning. Welcome to the worship. Let us rejoice in God's presence together. So let me invite the call to worship. Please stand up if you are able.
Criminal summoning.
Come, let's share our love.
They're monitoring me with the
through
City of
Jesus.
Ontario sounding sirens. This is malicious. This is audible activity by the bots that congregate with the City of Ontario that is stalking with planes and helicopters. This is
With our
P.O.C,
mind, we
the state's
praise God.
church.
Together we praise the Lord our God. Please. Those in our church family who must be near to them with your healing presence. For those who are recovering from illness, surgery, injury, or exhaustion, grant protection for them. We also lift up those who are
It's 11:45 a.m. and this is the same Euclid Avenue where the fake sun is rising over me as I am sleeping at the bus stop, where all these demons that are congregating and claiming to be followers of Christ are aware of the fact that I am being targeted. They are engaging in targeting me right now, and they're engaged in targeting with the City of Ontario that's engaged in criminal summoning with the demons that are congregating and in possible light activity under the fake sun at the Bethel congregation. All right, this is P.O.C. This is understanding the malice of the people of the state who do not have a defense to engage in gang stalking by stating the government is forcing or coercing, in the same way that it is not a defense to claim that you were forced to or coerced into murdering someone. There is no defense for gang stalking. Moreover, it is patently untrue. The people of the state are demons, and they are fully engaging in that pattern of conduct distinct from the state. They are doing it when the state is not physically and conspicuously present. They are vicariously present, and they are the same demonic entity. And they engage in gang stalking in very malicious ways, such as what this venue is doing by claiming to love Christ Jesus, and at the same time engaging in the barbarism and the cruel and inhumane and satanic system of gang stalking me. Okay? The City of Ontario engaging in criminal summoning, which is audible activity, while they're all in a relevant position, and they're a bunch of vagina monitors. This is P.O.C. It's 11:46 a.m. Get the entity's stalking by commercial plane, ducking and dodging, doing cartwheels. The entity's doing so under the fake sun. So the entity is engaging, and the entity includes Southwest Airlines at the OVITT Family Community Library, where they're inside of the library stalking in furtherance of murder, and these co-conspirators of murder engaging in what is the ongoing fabrication of facts and information, while they engage in what is, as the government, conspiring murder, discriminating against me regarding exclusion from that City of Ontario library. It is currently 1:07 p.m. And there is the entity that is indeed stalking. It's 1:07 p.m. This is another one. The other one, they're doing the cartwheel over here because I've moved. Southwest Airlines is doing a cartwheel right in alignment with where my person is positioned, and they're also doing so because they are stalking. I just want you to see the building that they're flying over. It is the prosecution of any government actor that is not ignorant, and under the law, you're not ignorant about public corruption that's in furtherance of murdering American citizens, a system of criminal surveillance. This is Paul Leon that is being federally prosecuted. He's already prosecuted with regard to the facts, and this is the federal case, and this is the ongoing federal case that the federal government is already aware of. He's being prosecuted. The entity is engaging in this criminal conduct because Paul Leon is is a gang stalker. He is a domestic enemy. He is a threat to the public. He is mentally unfit, and he is professionally incompetent, while he is both a terrorist who is sitting in the position as a corrupt mayor, profiting off of my demise. And that's why you have the airline companies flying over the city hall, flying miles away from the airport and hovering just like every other venue, including the gang stalking churches like St. George Catholic Church. It is currently 1:08 p.m. and this is what the entity is doing. Moments earlier, Southwest Airlines is stalking by flying over the senior center, and they're first flying over the Ontario City Hall. They're engaging what is a line, stalking in the path, flying over the Senior Citizen Complex, the Ontario Senior Center, and this is outside of what is zoning, and it's clearly outside of what is in alignment with Southwest Airlines' Terminal 4. And it's also outside of alignment with what the entity has published regarding when flights are scheduled today from the Ontario International Airport, which is not a major airport. It is an alternative for what is a major airport like Los Angeles, LAX, which is also engaged in gang stalking. Nonetheless, the entity is maintaining high frequency regarding plane activity, and it's also outside of what's published. It's currently at 1:09 p.m. The entity gang stalking 1:07 p.m. and before that I'm capturing it, and there are no flights that are scheduled during this time. This is what you're paying attention to, and there are no terminals where the entity is going to be hovering miles away from the airport. This is the pattern of conduct. This is what the entity is doing with regard to stalking, okay? Stalking a very specific person. The person that they're stalking is the one that is federally prosecuting them. And the entity is in fact mentally ill, and they're doing so under that fake sun, which is showing mental illness. This is for the world to witness that these are the demon-possessed who are a mentally ill population who are keeping everyone under surveillance, and it is state action. They're not private citizens engaging in government action. They're also not private citizens while they are engaging in what is corrupt conduct with that government. Okay, their entity is doing so under the fake sun. OVITT Family Community Library and C. Gerber is gang stalking me, giving me a document on March 3rd, 2026. And this is where he's in his vehicle at 10:17 a.m. And this is right before daylight savings time. So that would be 11:17, and it's 1:04 p.m. where this fake son is over the same position. He's going to prison. That's documenting a stalker regarding a police department. He's going to prison, and so is Mike Lorenz. Okay, this is the entity this is a stalker identifying the specific environment and the psychopath that keeps their back to you while they are stalking you with the government. That's also engaged in that pattern of conduct. It's relevant that it's happening where the city hall is speaking to government engagement and no reasonable ignorance nor actual ignorance. And this is what's happening while that fake son is over me, and the entity is maintaining that ongoing gang stalking, maintaining serial flight. All right, this is P.O.C. It is at the OVITT Family Community Library is where I'm at. The entity is maintaining this environment over me. This is where I've already documented the entity keeping the fake sun until sunset. All right, it's currently, I was here the other morning and the entity has the fake sun, as I reminded you, about 8:35 a.m. and I'm in Fontana at Spring and Sierra, and this is where Southwest Airlines, the Ontario International Airport, the commercial airline companies that are terrorists, and they're violent sex offenders keeping you and your children's genitalia under surveillance. That's how detailed their knowledge of you and their extensive invasion of your privacy is, okay? And these are sex offenders that are on the roads and the highways making sure that you're kept under surveillance. This is P.O.C. All right, these are the people of the state that are gang stalking as I'm en route to the venue, as I'm using the OVITT Family Community Library as a means of exemplifying public corruption throughout the city, and that is throughout any city. This is exposing how the government is engaging in surveillance amongst the people. And at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the entity has the fakes, and this is 12:59 p.m. And if you'll recall, this is the entity that's gang stalking while the entity keeps the fake sun. At the same time it's over me in Fontana, they're inside of this venue gang stalking in impossible light, and the fake sun does not ever move. These are the people of the state that are sharing and targeting me in furtherance of murder. These are the psychopaths that are pacing at the C Street turn circle where the fake sun remains. This is the entity that's under the fake sun at 12:59 p.m., which is the exact same venue where C. Gerber is under this fake sun at 10:04 a.m. on video, because C. Gerber is going to prison and there will be no debate with him. This is someone that's going to be prosecuted distinctly as a terrorist and not as a police officer. They are distinct under the law. And this is someone that's engaging in that with the gang stalking airlines, who are also on video under this fake sun that's in the same position on March 3rd at 10:04 a.m. All right, and here is C. Gerber operating the vehicle. Here are City of Ontario employees that are gang stalking. This is psychopathic pacing with the City of Ontario Police Department. And C. Gerber at what is 10:07 a.m. is gang stalking me via the unlawful exclusion from the venue. And this is the exact same position that the FICSIN is in right now at what is 1:13 p.m. That is a supernatural occurrence. And this is the basis whereby the entities engage in what is a criminal act for which they're going to prison. This is the desperation while the entities engage in very, very obvious criminal activity. And it becomes obvious once that illusion is removed for you. And that's the public service of the P.O.C. Okay, so that you know the illusion that the demon possessed in government are maintaining while they murder people, they kidnap them, they do so before they engage in that, they defame your character so that that way no one is questioning what is already one that is bullying in a position of abuse, which is that U.S. government in the first place. Okay, and because it is the government, that's exactly why they're going to prison. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is where the entity, just like at the Stater Brothers, rising over the shopping center, as though they're taking off. There's no takeoff, and there's also no scheduled takeoff at this time. This is Southwest Airlines that is clearly exposing itself as one that is relevant for removing the company from existence, prosecuting for criminal conduct and furtherance of murder, exposing the national security threat that all of the commercial airline companies are while they are gang stalking in California. And this is where the FICSIN is at 10:17 a.m. Southwest Airlines is gang stalking me with C. Gerber, as I documented on March 3rd. This is P.O.C. And this is speaking to the mentally ill that are operating these planes. They are the suicidal murderers who intentionally crash planes like UPS did in Kentucky. It's not an accident. They're doing it in the environment, and those are the mentally ill. And it includes who works in that Ontario City Hall. And it is Paul Leon. He's a demon. Okay? And that's relevant regarding mental illness, which is not merely a conspiracy, not merely me name calling. All right, this is relevant to the pattern of conduct. It's not only criminal, it is psychopathic, highly malicious. All right, and the mayor is being federally prosecuted and removed from office for the criminal conduct of the community, of the government, that which he is also funding. All right, and what's happening in the sky space over the city hall is directly incriminating those that occupy that building, just like at every other facilitating venue. They're not ignorant while they're in this environment. And this is speaking to Sean Thrasher, who is going to federal prison. Everybody in this library is gang stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. The vagina monitors in Ontario under the FACILITATION that's remaining here, which is exactly where it's remaining as I'm documenting, 5:48 p.m. This is where Southwest Airlines is letting you know that they are a threat. And the federal government is not missing that. They're not ignoring that. It's going to be responded to. The federal government is taking it as a direct threat by the entity that's engaging in gang stalking, and threatening the federal government is not going to end well for those that engage in that. Just like any other act of war, terrorists are going to prison. Southwest Airlines is engaging what are acts of war against American citizens, against this country, and you're not only going to civilly and criminally prosecute, you don't have a basis to remain. This is ongoing psychotic behavior while they are pacing one plane after another for the criminal purpose of monitoring, which is the inhumane means of stalking, and doing so relevant to what is psychological torture in that very clear environment, speaking to targeting one person. Okay, the entity that's engaging in what is a psychological torture tactics is the one that is mentally ill. All right, this is P.O.C. The entity is engaging in what is absolutely absurd and frivolous. This is corrupt, and it is also entirely defamatory, again, with regard to what is evidence. This is an admission, while the entity is gang stalking both by giving me this document and making all those statements as I captured on video, but also while the pattern of conduct as you're witnessing Southwest Airlines and the people of the state, the Ontario International Airport, the City of Ontario, the same OVITT Family Community Library, that are engaging in the pattern of conduct right now. They are going to prison for this. This is not merely discriminatory conduct. This is a federal group stalking and monitoring that's intended to obstruct justice so that they can get away with murdering me, which is the typical circumstance. They're not going to get away with that. This entity has sacrificed itself. Paul Leon's being removed from office. He's going to be prosecuted, and this is where the Ontario police are flying in circles over me on a daily, nightly basis. Mike LORENZ is going to prison, okay? This is the entity that's engaged in that, and so are the people of the state, and so are the state actors inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. All right, the entity is maintaining this pattern of conduct because they are very much aware and keeping my evidence under surveillance, which my evidence also shows these unintelligent demons that are wearing police uniforms, making statements that are documented, revealing what is their clear purpose while they are targeting, which is obstruction of justice. And it is directly rebutting the statements that have been made regarding what they're actually doing, what their actual purpose is, what their actual knowledge is. And they're going to prison for that. That's malice. They are lying and misrepresenting the reality because they intend to commit murder and kidnapping. That's an unlawful threat. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that is indeed engaged in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder. And contrary to the tactics, the method, the lack of strategy, this is supposed to be a strategy, but it's not a strategy. I'm showing you that it's foolish conduct. It's literally prosecutorial suicide because the entity's tactic is to engage in more and more overwhelming conduct regarding stalking. I'll do more and more plane activity, more and more impossible light activity, more and more helicopter activity. And all you're doing is documenting that because you are going into a mental institution. You're going to prison. You're going to be prosecuted on the record. A matter of public information that you are in fact a terrorist, and you are going to compensate at a level that has never been contemplated before under federal law. And that's because it's never been proven that a company is engaging in, nor the mechanics of how a company is stalking one person. And that's exactly the public service that the P.O.C. provides. This is the removal of the domestic terrorist leader who is in position that he is unfit by virtue of existence of domestic terrorism in the city where you want to be a leader. You are no leader. In fact, you are leading in corruption. You are leading in lawlessness. You are leading in what is criminal activity and facilitation of criminal activity and a criminal mindset amongst a people, which poses, as you are well aware, as I go from city to city and state to state, a national security threat. Okay, this is one that is not only unfit for office. This is a domestic enemy. This is terrorism. And there is a reason why that must be dealt with under law, why the Ontario International Airport, the entity itself, feels comfortable gang stalking over the Ontario City Hall, and he's being federally prosecuted for it. Okay? There is no rational basis to engage in anything other than a federal prosecution for those that provide deceptive misnomers. He's not a president of an airport board. These are terrorist leaders that are overpaid vagina monitors. This is entirely corrupt. While you look at the ongoing criminal activity, blatant harassment tactics, blatant acts in seeking to obstruct justice and threaten while they are stalking, including by commercial airline planes, where you are responsible under every other circumstance and knowledgeable under every other circumstance, both on paper and logistically with regard to what's going on with the airport and those flights that are taken off from that airport. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance. They're absolutely aware, and they're going to be federally prosecuted. This is terrorism. It's facilitation of terrorism. And the laws are going to be applied on a strict liability basis seamlessly. You're not going to be treated differently under the law. And they're engaging in this while they are conspiring murder and making money and calling themselves, instead of a terrorist regime, they're calling themselves airport leadership, the Ontario executive team and the airport board. It's just like the federal group stalking and monitoring under the guise of a grocery store. It's another form, another iteration of a terrorist regime. And every iteration shall be subject to federal prosecution. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:22 p.m. That's Ontario police that are engaging in psychopathic behavior, pacing over the building of the OVITT Family Community Library under the fake sun that remains over me at the same venue, the OVITT Family Community Library, in the same location where Alan D. WAPNER, a state actor that's going to be federally prosecuted as a terrorist, while the Ontario International Airport via the commercial airline companies under his corrupt leadership is stalking, engaging in what is psychopathic pacing as well via commercial airline planes. It's 3:51 p.m. This is an entity that's doing so while they are monitoring me and my device usage, which is federal stalking under Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, where Mike LORENZ, the Ontario Police, no government agency has any warrant or probable cause to engage in the criminal surveillance in concert with the people of the state. It doesn't exist. But it's a very real ongoing system, which the P.O.C. that is on the venue of the internet, where the government is keeping everyone under surveillance. And the government that's keeping everyone under surveillance that has been watching me expose it is forced to put Mike LORENZ in prison, okay? So essentially the government has been watching me expose what it knows very well it's doing. So I've been publishing evidence the entire time the federal government is operating through a company named YouTube, in other words. And so this is also why Mike LORENZ feels so free to keep stalking me by helicopter, because he's engaging in the criminal bidding of the U.S. government. That is very much aware of what it is that I'm exposing, because it's the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. What is happening and what's going to happen to Mike LORENZ, which is also relevant to his stalking me by helicopter at 3:50 p.m. right now is because this demon is triggered. These demons are triggered because they're going to federal prison while the U.S. government has been exposed and the Ontario Police Department are engaging in what is inevitable and unavoidable and fully exposed criminal activity, which forces the hand of the federal government, number one. But number two, he's going to federal prison where at first he thought that he was immune to the law because he is engaging in criminal activity on behalf of the U.S. government. The U.S. government is executing justice on my behalf, and Mike Lorenz is one of many that are going to prison. So I just want to document that, and that's the reality regarding the corruption, the unclean hands of the U.S. government. There's no secrets here. There's no secrets here, and it's a part of how I'm getting justice because those that are formerly enemies of mine, I don't want to say formally, those that are, you're no friend of mine, I haven't talked to anybody and nothing is official, but I know that I'm getting justice. I said what's going to happen at the very outset. Even while they were demons, even while the feds were still having sex with Tracy and they were planning on what they were going to do with my money after I dropped dead, none of that was going to happen. And they did not know that they were going to end up serving my prosecutorial purposes, but the Lord God did. And Mike Lorenz has been delusional about it the whole time. He's going to prison. He's going to prison for the helicopter activity that you just listened to right now and for the years of what is absolutely hard evidence of nothing other than targeting an American citizen. And his claim that the U.S. government is doing it is no defense for him. He's going to prison under all circumstances. He's going to prison. He's going to prison as a terrorist leader. But I just want to be clear, that's a little bit of a preview regarding the complexity of this case, because I'm exposing the U.S. government that is acting in the state of California. So that's federal to state. The state's engaging in what is federal crimes while they're doing so within the state's capacity. But they're also doing it on the internet. That's implicating federal law. They are doing so while they're crossing state lines on the roads and the highways. The entity using the trains, the planes, using what is the means of aerial surveillance. This is implicating channels and interstate. This is implicating federal law. There are ways in which you're getting to that. It is inevitable, but it is within the state of California, but it is above state law. It is not merely a state cause of action. It is terrorism. It's domestic terrorism. It's including the population and the entities engaging in that pattern of conduct while they are monitoring also the evidence that's produced. The entity has never been faced with exposing and prosecuting itself, and that's essentially what the federal government is doing, and they're going to do it. It's already done. Through this investigation. And it takes an outsider like myself, because nobody that is a part of this criminal system was in any position to do it. They were not. So this is change that is coming from the outside, and it is infiltrating what is a corrupt federal system. And it's operating in the state of California as I expose the city of Ontario within the state of California that's engaging in the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. And this is why corrupt agencies that fill the state of California, as I've documented them, Upland Police, Fontana Police, Ontario Police, San Bernardino Police, Rialto Police, Colton Police, Montclair Police, Chino Police, Los Angeles Police, San Diego Police, Pomona Police, Azusa Police. I can keep going because I've documented all of them gang stalking me. And this is why they are engaging in what is a pattern of conduct. And it's also why they feel so free to do it in the face of my documentation that I was also putting on the internet. It's the federal government's website. The federal government is aware of what the police were doing to me, what the state of California is doing to me. They're doing so as puppets of the federal government. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct on behalf of the U.S. government. But what has happened, the plot twist is that the federal government is working for me. And Mike Lorenz and terrorists of the like are going to prison. And those that were formerly targeting me within the feds are speaking against what they were formerly a part of and serving to prosecute terrorists like Mike Lorenz. He is going to prison. And that's what's behind the entity pacing over me right now. The entity is engaging in this, and this is speaking to prison for a lot of people, because this is terrorism and it's murder, and it's an ongoing plot against an American citizen that includes a lot of people, a lot of manpower, a lot of resources, a lot of time, a long-term plan to murder somebody, which is speaking to how evil, how calculated the entity is. But that does not make them intelligent. They're not intelligent. I've documented and shown that as I break down their strategy. Engaging in stalking and being documented and then engaging in more stalking is not going to avoid a prosecution. And you're being prosecuted. You're not going through with what was your original plot. The federal government is turning against you. The federal government is on my side. You lose. This is an entity that's engaging in a pattern of conduct in the face of the feds, but that is also why it is a complicated case, because I'm prosecuting. I'm prosecuting for what I remain subject to. So you have delusional psychopaths who continue a threat, and they know very well they're going to prison. They know they're going to prison. They are. All right, this is P.O.C. It's currently 3:57 p.m. Alrighty, this is Amazon Prime. I'm going to show you the fake sons in the same position where I took video at this same location. That's the Ontario City Hall, the Ontario Senior Center. This is the fake sun, and this is at 6:08 p.m. Amazon Prime is stalking. The commercial airline companies have been maintaining ongoing stalking conduct, flight after flight, engaging in what is stalking me on behalf of the City of Ontario, maintaining flights here and doing so pursuant to the criminal pattern of conduct, monitoring me, monitoring my physical movements, monitoring me while targeting. Let me show you. This is the entity that's flying over the City Hall. That's not a takeoff. This is targeted, and it's targeted as you're looking at the fake sun that's in this over the same OVITT Family Community Library. This is where I was this morning. Excuse me, I arrived over here at 1 o'clock. Okay, and this is again what I was showing you. 10:04 on March 3rd. C. Gerber's here stalking. March 3rd, 10:17 a.m. C. Gerber is here stalking, pacing with the people of the state, and the people of the state are engaging what is criminal summoning. They're outwardly engaging what is domestic terrorism in the U.S. This is the U.S. government. This is the population that's engaging in terrorism in the U.S. And this is how the people of the state, who are demon-possessed, are conspicuously stalking American citizens. All right, they're engaging in this with the government that's flying over the Ontario City Hall, which is not only government action while you're looking at a government building, the City Hall, but the government is doing so with the city airport. That's also an indication of the government engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is where the Ontario police, as you heard on the podcast, stalking me, engaging in psychopathic pacing and doing so with plane after plane. This is the conclusive evidence that's going to prosecute the commercial airline companies that are practicing a satanic and psychologically torturous stalking system. And these commercial airline companies that are the people of the state with the U.S. government have conspired to murder me. And this is relevant to the entity that has in court hearings that I have not been a part of. While they are plotting my murder, engaging in this torturous system against me, attending court hearings outside of my knowledge while kidnapping me over and over again and defaming my character in furtherance of trying to murder me after stealing my money and getting away with stealing my money. Murder is to serve the permanent purpose of making sure that nobody learned about what Mike LORENZ has been plotting against me, about what Alan D. WAPNER, the Ontario International Airport, these commercial airline companies that are engaging and that are invested in murder and theft. Okay, the fake sun that is here at 1 o'clock is still here at what is 6:10 p.m. And remember what the Fontana Police Department are doing at the exact same time when I'm walking out of the Fontana Lewis Library yesterday. This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct, and that is also the conclusive evidence to prosecute the U.S. government. What the city of Fontana and the city of Ontario are doing, what a gang-stalking police department and a gang-stalking commercial airline company are doing at the same time in an environment that is irreconcilable, pursuant to the pattern of conduct of the people of the state that are in the U.S. terrorizing people in plain view. These are animals, and they do so while they murder people. These are serial killers in the U.S. And they do so by just existing amongst you. They're keeping you under surveillance. And this is the federal prosecution of that entity. The commercial airline companies are operated by people who are absolutely psychopathic and maniacal serial killers and violent sex offenders. Names that you know, like Bezos. While you're looking at, and this is not an exaggeration, that's why these commercial airline companies that know the damning evidence, and literally, as I capture the video, they continuously provide evidence that's going to be played in court and judges are going to decide in my favor. Why are they continuously doing it? Because they are maniacal psychopaths. They are demon-possessed. These are enemies of this country, and they're making money on the backs of Americans. They are a threat to this country, and it's going to shut down and remove companies from existence. It's going to put terrorists that are sitting at the heads of companies in prison, terrorists that are sitting at the heads of government bodies in prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 6:11 p.m. where I'm at the same location where the entity has been keeping me under surveillance, and a bunch of vagina monitors sitting in relevant positions stalking me. This is the entity that's threatening my life, doing so with the population that's sharing in torture, sharing in harassment, sharing in criminal activity together. This is P.O. And this is the automatic. It is axiomatic. Paul Leon is being federally prosecuted. And this is stating what is the federal groundwork for prosecuting in any city. And I'm prosecuting the city of LA, prosecuting the city of Fontana, the city of Upland, the city of Chino, the city of San Bernardino, the city of Rancho Cucamonga, etc., etc., etc. This is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. This is a demon. He's stalking with the Ontario Police Department. All right, covering up his face. This is a coward, a vagina monitor, a sex offender of the fire department, Michael Gerken, that's going to be removed from position, stalking with the Ontario Police Department by helicopter. That's a demon. Okay, that's Satan, by the way. That's a demon-possessed person. And the Ontario Police Department are stalking by helicopter. These are murderers and sex offenders that are engaged in the pattern of conduct, and you're witnessing the demon-possessed, this coward that knows that he's being documented, engaging in what is a conspiracy to murder somebody, that's documenting him in his face, and he keeps his face down. Those are the vagina monitors who are cowards. Mike LORENZ and Michael Gerken are being prosecuted. Paul Leon is being prosecuted. This is where the fake sun is remaining all day long. This is impossible light activity on the wall. Just manifesting in the shade, witnessing what is demon possession. The Ontario Fire Department have a personal vendetta because I've exposed them as demons and I've exposed their criminal activity. Humpty Dumpty, that's gang stalking me. This fat egg on legs is being gang stalked, and I'm calling her out. And this is when the entity follows up with helicopter activity, because they are fat rejects who are losers with no prospects of any future. And I'm going to prosecute them, fat and thin. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct. They're engaging with a stalking with helicopter while they are all rejects in life flunkies. And you pull out helicopters because that's how obsessed with me you are, and obsessed with my opinion about you. It's not an opinion. It's a criticism of somebody that's stalking me. If you don't want to be called out and embarrassed on the internet, then stop stalking. That's the Ontario Fire Department. Those are demons. These are the people of the state. Those are demons. And this is the Ontario City Hall. Paul Leon's a demon. And their demons are engaged in what is gang stalking. These demons are engaged in that coward that you see keeping his head down. Michael LORENZ is a coward and stalking me by helicopter. I'm a woman. He's stalking a woman with a helicopter because he is a demon. And he's a mentally ill person who is being prosecuted, and he's going to federal prison. Okay, this is, again, I want to be clear. The entity is maintaining this fake sun. I'm in Fontana at the Fontana Metrolink train station, where Fontana police followed me to that train station yesterday. Okay, the entity is keeping this fake sun while I'm aboard Omnitrans coming to Ontario, where the demons of the Ontario Police Department are stalking with criminal summoning with employee number 4441 of the Omnitrans, gang stalking me on the roads and the highways with the Ontario Police and the Fontana Police Department. Mike LORENZ is going to prison. They're mentally ill. They are indeed demons that are engaged in criminal conduct, and it's the substance whereby you're able to also diagnose. P.O.C. This is all engineer light. This is monitoring by the government. This is surveillance. The ongoing train activity is impossible, and it's letting you know that he's a psychopath and he's also a demon. Okay? Ontario Fire are not different from the demons that are walking around with ashy knees, gang stalking me. Okay? That's P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 6:42 p.m. The entity that's gang stalking, which you'll see on X, regarding the egg that is walking around with two legs on. She's Humpty Dumpty. That's how I described her. With the demon with the dreads and the Ontario International Airport, Alan D. Wapner's handiwork. These are the demons that then follow with helicopter activity. P.O.C. All right, I do want to show you the evidence of demon possession and what is criminal activity amongst demons that are monitoring you out in public, everywhere that we're at, everywhere that you're going out in public, and also where you live. This is impossible light activity. My shadow's appearing in front of me, projected on this wall at a distance. And this is not the sun that's been here since I arrived at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 6:43 p.m. This is the evidence of a demon that was representing the Ontario Fire Department and the Ontario Police, who were stalking by helicopter. This is a ritual that they're engaging in together, and it's criminal activity. And it's also the evidence that's going to be used to have them committed. They're going to prison, they're going to compensate, and they're also going to be committed. This is P.O.C. This is all impossible light activity. That is indeed a demon that's wearing an Ontario Fire Department uniform. They're keeping American citizens under surveillance. They're not engaged in firefighting. They're facilitating ongoing criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. They're not engaged in firefighting. Okay, they're mentally ill. This is P.O.C. They're being removed because they've engaged in not only targeting me, but enabling a population to target me. Michael Gerken will not remain in the firefighting industry. He's going to be prosecuted. It is going on his record. Because he targeted me, he will be known as a terrorist. And the Ontario Fire Department will be known as terrorists. You're not staying in that industry. And it's the same with the Ontario Police Department. And it's the same with the Ontario International Airport and the gang stalking commercial airlines, which is a matter of national security. Everybody in the country needs to know what these airline companies are doing. This is impossible. Showing you. This is what you're paying attention to. This is the crime scene. That was a demon that is working for the Ontario Fire Department. That's what's stalking me in helicopter. That's what's being disbanded. That's what's going to federal prison as a terrorist leader, Michael LORENZ, P.O.C. All right, this is Wendy's engaging in what is monitoring me in the bathroom while my vagina is exposed, and this the Wendy's employees are monitoring with this third party who is not parked outside. I took pictures of what's going on outside. He's arriving as I'm in use of the bathroom, and he's walking in engineer light. This is a sex offender, and this is the government that's stalking with the commercial airline planes. It does not get any more direct than this. He's a sex offender engaged in that sex offense. He's doing so with Wendy's, the restaurant, also the employees. This is a violent sex offender. The bathroom is right here, and this is why they're creating light activity in relevant position to the bathroom, and this is where the entity is stalking by commercial planes. This is the prosecution of all the sex offenders, the demon over the fire department, the demon over the police department, the demons over the airport. The entity is doing so under the fake moon. This is the fake moon, and this is now where the entity is at Wendy's, stalking with commercial planes. This is the clear-cut pattern of conduct. And I just want to be clear, these are the mentally ill that engage in this behavioral pattern. This is P.O.C. This is the federal RICO case. Wendy's shares the same pattern of conduct with Stater Brothers, with McDonald's, with Omnitrans, with Southwest Airlines. All right, this is the entity that is gangs. I am showing that ongoing POC. This stalking with light conduct is shared by Shell. They're all monitoring me in the bathroom. This is a sex offense committed by the entity. And this is that federal RICO case, the crime of sexual violence and violating the privacy of an American citizen are the crimes committed by the government that's maintaining surveillance through the people of the state, establishments such as Wendy's. And this is the mentally ill behavior of a company, which is the basis to remove that company from existence. Also civilly prosecute it and the company itself for criminal activity. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in this. Wendy's is a terrorist and a violent sex offender. They're monitoring my vagina. And that's the significance of this light activity right here, and the plane activity right here, and the fake moon that is right here. And this is the light activity that this sex offender, he's a psychopath, he's out here pacing. And then he's going inside. This is the imposter. They're engaging in vagina monitoring. Here's my shadows back here. And here's one up here. This is what he's doing. He's monitoring me while he walks to the door. And he's violating my privacy, aware of everything going on inside of the bathroom. Sex offender was not inside of the restroom. Not inside of the restaurant. As I go into the bathroom, they're already in position monitoring me. This is sexual violence. Okay, Nicholas, that's his name. He's a sex offender. This is Wendy's that's engaging in bathroom monitoring together. This is called relevant positioning, where the truck is parked relevant to the bathroom. And this is the peculiarized light in the engineered environment under the fake moon, while the entity is surrounding. This is a massive sex offense. And I did go through this neighborhood, and I already have license plates of the people of the state. These are demons very much engaged in gang stalking. They were sitting in the middle of the street with their cars, aiming light on me while I walked through the neighborhood. This is early in the morning, and they know that they're being documented. They're violent vagina monitors. They're sex offenders in the city of Ontario. And that's going to be removed from police chief position over the Ontario Police, and fire chief over the Ontario Fire Department, and president of the Airport Authority over the Ontario International Airport. All right, this is P.O.C. That is a very, very clear pattern of conduct while the entity starts stalking with planes right here. This is Oakhurst. This is a sex offender. And this is sexual violence that's committed in furtherance of murder in concert with Wendy's. All right, the other iteration of what Wendy's doing the same thing. While I was here, the entity has the people of the state all aiming headlights toward the door. The last time they were engaged in vagina monitoring as I came to Wendy's. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:22 p.m. The entity that is stalking with light is severely mentally ill. These are the demons that are engaging in murder in the U.S., okay? He's engaged in what is monitoring. He's in the engineer light, engaging in what is pacing conduct. Okay, you want to pay attention to all the logo names? You're going to prosecute. This is P.O.C. This is the entity following back to the OVITT Family Community Library, where they were stalking all day long, where the fake sun was present from 1 until sunset after 6, where the Ontario Fire Department had a white male, a demon-possessed white male that favored Michael Gerken, by the way. Look at his face. It sure does look like that vagina monitor Michael Gerken that's stalking me where the fake sun set. This is the OVITT Family Community Library, and the entity follows with the fake moon. So let me identify that in the sky space. The entity is following with the whole crime scene, where the entity is stalking with commercial planes. And this is what the neighborhood that I'm going to prosecute, and many of whose license plates I do have on the record, and I'll be publishing that with the face of the terrorist that's going to be removed from office, and that is Paul Leon, who's engaged in what is governing a population of sex offenders who are engaging in the incredible criminal activity of surveillance using airplanes throughout the city, commercial airline planes of American citizens. All right, this is P.O.C. All right, all right, this is the OVITT Family Community Library, where the entity is physically stalking me, going from place to place. And that stalking is proven when the entity is maliciously targeting in things like planes and helicopters, where the demon-possessed surmise that you could just state, oh, you're paranoid because the helicopter is flying over everyone. This is the entity that is following with an entire environment that is supernatural. The same pattern with the fake moon is that which is occurring with the fake sun, whereas at the OVITT Family Community Library today, you saw what is no person's imagination and no matter of a hallucination, where the sun did not leave the OVITT Family Community Library, as I documented, from 1 until after 6 p.m., where the airport is stalking, engaging in surveillance, using planes to psychologically torture, sexually violate, harass, and monitor. And that's what they're doing in the bathroom. They are monitoring my genitalia and doing so in concert with the people of the state who engage in mentally ill behavior, such as maintaining methods of light activity while they are stalking and keeping American citizens under surveillance in ways in which they have to learn about through this P.O.C. This is the pattern of conduct. The Ontario International Airport, like I stated in the video, where vagina monitoring is ongoing at Wendy's. This is speaking to what's the pattern of conduct. Wendy's is just engaging in the perpetual sex offense as an entity. This is why they're following me from place to place. I am indeed the target, and so are the demons that are engaging in this pattern of conduct at establishments like Wendy's. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:51 p.m. This is Ontario Police that's repeatedly flying over, just like I captured earlier this afternoon, and again with the Ontario Fire Department where the fake sun was setting. This is the entity that is right now monitoring my device as I'm uploading the podcast, and I'm uploading videos documenting Paul Leon as the entity in the city of Ontario is gang stalking me. It's the prosecution of the mayor. The entity is this is an attack. This is a psychological tactic, psychological torture tactic, and it's also harassment. It's a threat to my life, and this is the agency that commits ongoing kidnapping and threats to commit kidnapping, and they're stalking. They're doing it again, and it's currently 11:06 p.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library. This is P.O.C., where the airport followed me to this venue from the Wendy's back here, where the Ontario Police, the City of Ontario, is keeping my vagina under surveillance with the population, who are the people of the state. P.O.C. The entities engaged in psychopathic conduct. They're flying in circles over me, like I have a body of evidence of, and this is while the podcast is being published. This is relevant to the March 3rd admissions regarding lying about keeping me under surveillance and then removing me from the library and then threatening to kidnap me while they are stalking and keeping my devices, my social media under surveillance. And C. Gerber, Sean Thrasher, they're going to prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. That's what's behind lying about something happened in the bathroom and nothing happened in the bathroom. They're keeping my devices like they are now under surveillance, and they're doing gang stalking me at the same OVITT Family Community Library where they're engaging in surveillance. P.O.C.